Morning, folks. So, a little discussion, talking to the people that tend to troll or disbelieve or dismiss or make fun of or just flat out deny the flat earth. Can't seem to wrap their mind around, constantly call it a cult when it's actually quite the opposite, breaking free of the globe cult. And just some examples of why that is, showing how that is. If you're to study cults and the people that have broken free from them, you will find that it's much easier for an adult, for someone that entered the cult as an adult, to break free from the mindset and the belief system indoctrinated, brainwashed into them in that cult than it is for a child born to that adult in that cult that has learned that cult belief system since they were born, since they were a child. That is where the phrase "get them while they're young" comes from. It's not just for the pedophiles in government that like their kids young sexually because they're degenerate deviants. It's to get their brains while they're young, to indoctrinate and brainwash them. Do the research. Look it up. It's much easier. Look at the people that have broken free of cults and said, I can't believe I used to believe in that. Look at the adults that do it, that went into it as adults and broke out of it as adults, as opposed to how much harder it is to get a child that's indoctrinated in that system to break free of that belief system. That is why the globe is pumped into your head since kindergarten. Because you are just forming the basis of your entire learning system. So the sooner they pump it into your head and more frequently they pump it into your head, the more it's going to stick and be ingrained in your entire thought process. This is why we constantly get globe believers trying to apply globe physics to the flat earth model. And that's why no matter how many times you tell them, no, that's not what I'm saying it is. I'm not saying the sun doesn't move up and down as it moves around faster or slower when it moves towards the center of the flat earth or the outer perimeter, the southern hemisphere. I don't know. You don't either. But you're trying to apply what the globe physics would be to the flat earth model. And that's why it's so ridiculous to you, because that's absurd. You can't apply physics of a ball to the physics of a wheel. If you put a ball on the ground, no matter which direction wind comes at it, it will go any direction that wind blows it, 360 degrees. Wherever that wind is coming, that ball will blow that way. Now put a wheel on the ground and try to blow the wind at it from the side. Is it going to start rolling? No, it's going to tip over and fall. So you can't apply the same physics to a wheel or a disc as you do a ball. It doesn't work. Now, these people just can't seem to comprehend that the government would indoctrinate kids in school with a system that only suits their agenda. Well, let's apply that to the current school system. How many of you globe proponents have looked into Common Core? The Common Core mathematics system. If you really look into that and want to tell me that's a better mathematical teaching system than what's been taught for the last God knows how long, you're a fucking imbecile, okay? Go get your calculator. We'll get on a Google Plus Hangout and have someone read combinations to two-digit numbers. I'll come up with the answer just as fast or faster than you can with your calculator. And then have someone that's indoctrinated in Common Core join the club, and let's see how long it takes them. Let me tell you why that is. In addition to their usual making money off of their agendas. See, because if you introduce an entirely new system, it needs entirely new books that have to be published and purchased by those school systems. And the owners of those publishing houses are making a pretty penny off of all those new books of this whole new system they've got to introduce. Okay? So that's the way they're making money, like they usually do off their system, but that's not the entire agenda. See, we're in the computer robotics age now. So the less the plebes, the minions of society actually know about math, the better. They don't need them to know math anymore. I mean, forget the calculator. You've got computers that can calculate any mathematical equation out there. What do you need the people to be able to do real math for? Or do math very well for? It's actually, they're more easily controlled if they can't do the math. If maybe they can't comprehend the numbers of how they're being screwed. And maybe if they can't really comprehend how to even do their taxes, you can just take whatever the hell you want from them. They won't know any better. All they need to do is know how to push a button. Now you say, well, you can't, the whole world wouldn't, how would they build the robots and that? Well, I'm guessing if you look at the higher education of the more prominent families and their private schools, Common Core isn't being taught. It's just for the lowly masses. But the government would never teach a system that isn't most effective and actually does the opposite of what it claims to do, just brainwashes them into a convoluted system that isn't the accurate or best way to teach something, right? They would never do that, although they're doing it right now. That's just one example. The math is just one example. Don't get me started on calling kids purple penguins and all this shit instead of boys and girls. They're mind fucking our children constantly, but you just can't comprehend that they would have done it about the place where you live. In order to, again, going back to their money making, sell you this whole fantastical story about how we can go to space and we need lots and lots of money to be able to do that. No, they'd never do that. And then, of course, you've got the two. You people love to talk about how free it is to go to Antarctica, and never mind the actual weather difficulties and ecological barriers that exist when trying to travel to the South or North Pole for the common person, or the monetary restrictions that make it all but impossible for the common person to have a boat and a ship that could even travel around those waters. I mean, you've got those restrictions, but then on top of it, you've got 52 countries that have this treaty for science. Please tell me, please, folks, seriously, tell me what science has come out of Antarctica that all these people need to be in this treaty. And that's what it's about, is science, right? What have they discovered? Show me the discoveries that are so goddamn important that 52 people have joined this treaty, 52 countries, to make sure that, oh God, that's a science haven and nobody can go freely roam around it. No matter how much you try to fucking say they can, they can't. Start asking everybody you know, have they ever been to Antarctica? And look at and then ask them who's been to Africa, who's been to Europe, who's been to Australia, who's been to Hawaii, who's been to Japan, who's been to China. It's totally unproportionate, okay? So no, it's not this great travel destination, and it's not just because it's cold and it's just a chunk of ice and people don't want to go there. It's because they can't, without being part of some guided tour. And people aren't going to spend the kind of money that it takes to go down there to be escorted around and led by the nose. But again, please tell me what great scientific discoveries. You know what? It's all federally funded, so a lot of it is climate change science. Where in order to maintain that federal funding, they're not employing scientific method and doing independent research. They are tailoring their research and their results to get the results that the federal funders want in order to maintain that funding. That's how our scientific system works anymore. The mass majority of it. Then you got the people constantly, why don't you flat earthers present me a map? Give me a map to prove we're on a flat earth. Okay, let me blindfold you, put you on a boat, take you to a 100 square mile island. Then I'm going to put you in a 10 foot by 10 foot pen inside a fence, take your blindfold off and say, now make me a map of this island. You got 2-3 days, otherwise I don't believe shit you say. Please explain to me how the fuck you're supposed to do that. But I'll give you a picture of what the map looks like. But now you give me an independent map of what you think it looks like. When that's all you've got to go off is this map that I'm giving you. But you make your own, and it better be exactly correct, or what anything you say is stupid. But just stay in your little pen. So, again, I say for the 10 millionth time, any map or model that people are presenting is conjecture, is theory, because that is all we have to go off now. Because the government and the shadow government, the controllers of this flat earth we live on, that is all they will allow to happen. Because they will not allow free exploration. So, until you take out the people that have got you pinned in that 10 by 10 fence, preventing people from actually exploring and making real maps, you constantly asking for maps to prove is fucking ridiculous. As ridiculous as anybody presenting a map and saying that's the truth, that's actual fact. Maybe that's why old Tiger Dan drove himself nuts. Because you cannot make a map, an accurate map from your living room. It won't work. I don't know how many times I can say it. You've got to break down the control structure to allow free, independent scientific research and exploration. Not controlled. You cannot say map Antarctica, but you can't go there, or if you do, you can only go the places we say because we're doing important science about what kind of fish live under Antarctica. That's the great science that's come out of Antarctica. Is global warming bullshit, and we found that fish live under the ice in Antarctica. This is why we need this great treaty to find out how many times penguins poop in a day, or what kind of fish live under Antarctica. Who gives a fuck? Who's down there fishing for them? What good is knowing about these fish doing? Great, it's interesting and all, but do you really need 52 countries to sign a treaty to make this some scientific great mecca, and that's all that you've discovered from it? It doesn't make sense, people. It makes no sense. And then what about the North Pole? As much as you try to contend that it is, these are two areas where travel to and around them is extremely restricted. It can't be for military because we supposedly got all these great satellites. Everybody knows where everybody is, where their military is, what they're doing. So it can't be for that. But you people you'll say 9/11 was an inside job. All these other conspiracy theories you'll willingly cop to, Tim Osman. But you just can't comprehend that they would fucking lie about the shape of the earth. That is what makes you an ignorant fucking imbecile.